About a third of people have trouble sleeping. The most common reason they provide is, "I can't turn my mind off." Does that sound like you? So far in my sleep series, I've gone over the psychological, physiological, and neurological consequences of poor sleep. I've covered 2 of the 3 main causes of poor sleep: circadian rhythm disruption and physiological activation. I went over what they are and what to do about them to improve your sleep. In the next series of videos, I'm going to go over the 3rd major cause of suboptimal sleep: cognitive overactivation. I'm Dr. Chris Friesen from Friesen Performance, where I help you achieve your greatest potential by optimizing your psychology, physiology, and neurology. If you want to take your performance to the next level, you're going to need to improve your sleep. I want to differentiate between cognitive overactivation and physiological activation. Although they're related, they are both distinct. Recall that physiological activation refers to when our brain and body are too revved up. This refers to when our sympathetic nervous system is overactivated. This is our stress response, the fight or flight response, when our body is activated, and not enough parasympathetic nervous system activation, which is the opposite. It's the relaxation response, the recovery response. It's like a brake on our system. Cognitive overactivation can cause physiological activation, and to a lesser extent, physiological activation can cause cognitive overactivation. Cognitive overactivation refers to a cognitive process as opposed to a physiological or nervous system process. We've all experienced this. It's the inability to quiet our mind, to stop the mental chatter, or letting go of our thoughts so we can sleep. So you're lying in bed and you're worried about the next day, or you're going over tasks that you got to do, or you're ruminating about the past or something that happened the previous day. Could be as simple as having a song stuck in your head, or worrying about the fact that you're not asleep yet. Have you been there? I know I have. Most people describe this as being unable to turn off their minds. Over the next few videos, I'm going to help you reduce the mental chatter so you can fall asleep. But we need to be careful. The more effort we put into stopping the mental chatter, the more likely we're going to get physiologically activated. As I covered in a previous video, we need to change our attitude towards sleep. Sleep is not something we do, it's something that we allow to happen. Again, the more effort we put into trying to sleep, the less likely we are to fall asleep. We need to stop trying to control it and allow it to happen. So instead, we need to drop the struggle in order to sleep. I think it's important to note that being unable to shut off our mind is what we usually notice, but often there's another reason why we're lying there awake in the first place. These other reasons are usually related to physiological activation or circadian rhythm disruption, as I covered in previous videos. So the chatter we tap into when we're lying in bed and unable to sleep may be just the normal background chatter that's always going on, but we never have a chance to notice it. So if you haven't watched the other videos on physiological activation and circadian rhythm disruption, I highly recommend you check those out. There's more and more research evidence coming out to support the positive benefits of engaging in a regular yoga practice. There's evidence that yoga can improve our fitness, strength, flexibility, balance, and mood. But going over all the benefits of yoga is beyond the scope of this video. But there's emerging evidence that yoga can improve our sleep. I believe that one of the most important components of yoga that helps with sleep and mood is the mindfulness component. I really like Jon Kabat-Zinn's definition of mindfulness as the awareness that arises from paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally. The American Psychological Association has a nice and simple definition of mindfulness: a state of moment-to-moment awareness of one's experience without judgment. Mindfulness is a skill, and like any skill, it can be developed and improved with practice. And yoga allows you to develop and practice this skill. The skill of being mindful can help you overcome cognitive overactivation and improve your sleep. But how do we develop this? Wouldn't it be nice that instead of getting swept away and caught up with unhelpful thinking when we're trying to sleep, we could simply notice them and not get caught up with them? To do this, we need to activate a function of our minds. This is referred to as the observing self. It's also known as Meta-Cognition. This is an executive function. It's our ability to notice our own thinking. So how is this related to cognitive overactivation and trouble sleeping? Well, we need to improve our ability not to get hooked by, fused with, or caught up in unhelpful thinking when we're trying to sleep. So how do we do this? When our mind starts going when we're trying to sleep, we need to start describing and noticing in a non-judgmental way what our minds are doing. You say to yourself in your mind, I'm noticing the thought that, for example, I'm never going to fall asleep. Or, I'm noticing the urge to, for example, check social media. Or, I'm noticing I'm worrying, for example, about a meeting tomorrow or an exam coming up. Or, I'm noticing I'm ruminating about how Jack was rude to me at the office today. Next, you say to yourself, thanks, mind. And what we mean by this is you're thanking your mind for doing what it's programmed to do, which is to think. Or, isn't that interesting? In other words, isn't that interesting that my mind did that? In other words, we're taking an attitude of openness, acceptance, and non-judgment. Next, we gently return our attention back to the present moment. This could be the physical sensations of breathing, the feeling of the pillow on your face, or any sounds you can hear in your environment. Then gently remind yourself to let go, to drop the struggle, to allow yourself to sleep. Remember, if this turns into something where it's taking a lot of effort, we'll become physiologically activated, and this will prevent our ability to sleep. So in other words, you want to accept your thoughts and feelings as normal and okay. Then gently return your attention back to the present moment. By doing this, we're putting some space between us and our thoughts. We're activating the observing self. So to summarize, when you find yourself getting caught up in thinking when you're trying to sleep, you do the following. You notice. I'm noticing. You accept non-judgmentally. Thanks, mind. Or isn't that interesting? You refocus on the present moment and drop the struggle and allow yourself to sleep. In future videos, I'm going to show you how to get really good at this by learning a formal meditation that you can do during the day. In the next videos, I'm going to show you some things you can do during the day that will prevent mental chatter and what else you can do when you get caught up with mental chatter when you're trying to sleep. Until next time, keep moving forward.